So, my friends, the big hunt is on. Who is going to be the fifth member of both Bloodline teams? Just like 1996 when WCW asked the question, who is the third man? It turned out to be Hulk Hogan. Don't want to be that guy. Please do not allow it to be Hulk Hogan. But it comes off the back of last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. If you are watching this on the day the video goes live, or Raw goes live, whatever I'm talking about, that wasn't correct at all. Please hit the subscribe button as well, as you are here. But I actually like this storyline. You would have watched my videos, so now I look like an idiot, because I assumed that we were just going to do 4-on-4, because WWE has been very good with that in the new era, whatever we're calling it. They would adapt matches to what fits the storyline. So, of course, we have 4 people on the original Bloodline, and we have 4 people on the Bloodline 2.0. So why the flub not? Then it turns out we're not going to do that at all, and we're going to add a 5th person. Now, this is one of these videos. I don't want to have to say this, but I'm going to have to say this. Because WWE has taped next week's episode of Raw already to give the superstars off Thanksgiving, by the way, or at least give them some extra time, which I'm all in favor of, because health and happiness before anything else. I am going to talk about spoilers for next week's episode of Raw. I don't want any of you to leave. I'd rather you would stay, but I can't do it because it's already been spoiled for me because the way I live my life with algorithms on the internet and whatnot. So if you do have to come back later, that is totally fine. Or if you could just mute it and let the video run through for my own views and my own monetary systems. Otherwise, I'm broke and I can't do this anymore. I would hugely appreciate it. But in terms of what we did on last night's show, I thought it was really good because we planted the seeds for multiple people. They were talking to Seth Rollins. They were talking to Bron Breakker. Then Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu were talking to Seth. And I thought Seth was the MVP of the night because he spoke in a way that everybody should speak when you're asked to join such a crew. I don't want to be affiliated with Roman Reigns. That guy's absolute scum. And he even said next time I do see him in the ring, I'm going to stomp his head in. So, he's going to go on Nintendo on his ass. And this excites me for reasons I get into in just 1 second. But when they took to Bron Breakker, I was like, it makes no sense why Bron Breakker would be the guy, other than the fact he doesn't like Jacob Fatu. They had that stare off. And let's not forget, when he was feuding with Jey Uso, he did talk about the Anai family and Hawaii family, excuse me, a lot. But I don't think you need to do that. I think that Bron Breakker at the moment can exist in his own bubble. And now we do jump forward 7 days. It certainly does sound like we're going to take the Seth Rollins-Bronson Reed feud, and we're going to tie it in here because we have the Bronson versus Seth Rollins match. Actually, before I get to that one, what we did with Seth and Bronson, I thought was the highlight of the night, potentially, along with all this storyline stuff. Those two are just great together. And Bronson Reed's all like, man, I'm going to take over Raw until I get a match with Seth Rollins. So Seth comes out, they just brawl. Adam Pearce has a meltdown. That's also when Sami Zayn, the worst choice of time ever. Oh, Seth, you want to be in my group with these people that emotionally manipulated us for a few years, and you, because obviously the Shield stuff as well, although technically Seth is the reason Roman Reigns is how he is today. So you know what, Seth? You're full of it. Anyway, the point is this. It did mean Adam Pearce had that massive, and we did get that match, which has already happened. And if we are to believe the pictures that are out there, and again, we do not know, because the only people that have seen this, the people are in the building, it certainly has been suggested that Seth Rollins is going to be on the OG Bloodline and Bronson Reed is going to be on the Bloodline 2.0 because Solo and Jacob, after being slighted by Seth Rollins when he said, I don't want to team with no wannabe tribal chief, come out, they get involved, they allow Bronson Reed to win, and it ends with Seth having a meltdown of his own. Now, I like that because we have justified. Modern WWE is really good at this. So you can go, well, I kind of don't get it. But however, here's this big asterisk that makes it all make sense again. Like, there's a big criticism at the moment. Oh, why has Sami Zayn just joined back up with Roman Reigns? Especially since he sat down with Jey Uso less than a month ago and was like, you don't need to do this. You're not part of it anymore. You're your own man. Well, it's because he basically loves Jey Uso. They're best of friends. So Jey is going to do that. He is going to be by his side. I think WWE has done a great job in getting that across. And it's going to be the same here. Seth Rollins is a vengeful fellow. He didn't want to lose to Bronson Reed. He doesn't want to feel like his show is being taken over, especially because Bloodline 2.0 are meant to be SmackDown guys. So even if he has to stand against who he considers his enemies, that's what we're going to do. I also think it would be awesome for Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed to be in that match because not only is it going to help Bronson Reed massively, but they can continue their mini feud. But also, within that match, do you know what should happen? Seth Rollins should curb stomp Roman Reigns, and that is going to be brilliant because at some point, probably in 2025, I need the proper Seth Rollins-Roman Reigns feud. We've obviously done loads with them over the last, since 2016, 14, whenever the hell Seth Rollins turned his back on him. But we've kind of entered a new territory here ever since WrestleMania 40, where Rollins just went super troll and dressed up in his Shield gear, which distracted Roman, which allowed Cody to become the super duper whooper mega champion. We have to tell that story. We have to do the big blow off because when Roman Reigns was going on his big I never lose 1,316 day reign, he did have that match with Seth Rollins, which I believe was at the Royal Rumble, maybe not. and he didn't actually lose. That was a disqualification. I mean, Seth Rollins technically got the win, but there was no pinfall. So we've deliberately protected that as well. So yeah, over the next 12 months, we need to get into it and draw a line under that story. But I'm not talking about do it in a 2 to 3 month period. We go all in. And we talk about the Shield, and we talk about what it meant for the industry. And we talk about what Seth did to Roman and Roman did to Seth. In the dream world, Dean Ambrose will come back. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. Move on. You're living in a dreamland. But I think if that all kicks off at this cage match, and maybe The Rock's involved too, and again, we try and really big up people like Jacob for two, and we try and really big up people like Bronson Reed, it is going to do what the Bloodline has always done, and it's not just about the main stars that are in it, it's about all the peripheral characters who can then use this to become even bigger and bigger, which allows WWE to keep their momentum going. So, massive thumbs up all around, and a lot of what I've done there is speculate on what we've seen on the internet, but it gets me pumped and it gets me excited. It makes everything that we saw last night even better still, which is also true for the main event, which was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, I now wear sunglasses because I'm a bad guy, taking on Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for the tag team titles. We just did this, so I'll miss somebody. Io Sky ran in, Nia Jax ran in, Tiffany Stratton ran in, Naomi ran in. We essentially have 5 on 4 here if we break it down. Once again, I'm going to have to be a spoiler guy, I apologize, but I can't talk about this stuff now that I know it, because I'd be lying to you. I'd be like, oh, what's going to happen? I know what's going to happen. So it's a very, very strange video. Come back in a week, I'd appreciate it. Watch both back to back. But essentially, we do a big schmoz. Who are the 5 people? I can't work this out. Why am I so stupid? I mean, it's Io Sky, and it's going to be Dakota Kai, you'd have to imagine. It's going to be Kairi Sane, and then it's going to be Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. That can't be right, because, look, essentially Rhea Ripley comes back next week. It doesn't even matter. The point is Rhea Ripley comes back next week and whips the absolute crap out of Liv Morgan, so hopefully we can actually get that feud done, because I do think the World Championship needs it. But you have a bunch of babyface, you have a bunch of heels, who, of course, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, etc., etc. And I think at that War Games for the women, that's when Tiffany Stratton should cash in. I think that would make for a wonderful ending. These two teams don't really need to win and lose, because it's more about the individual feuds they have got going on. But I'd also try and plant a seed between Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. We haven't really done that, and we're getting a lot of videos with them. But by the time we come out of the Survivor Series, we're in December, we will be on the road to WrestleMania, and WWE likes to take their time, much as they're doing with the New Day that I'll talk about in just 1 second. So you can do that as well. Now, I do admit, in comparison to the men's one, the women's one does feel a little bit like, man, we need 10 people, dudes. Dudes, we need 10 people. But that's okay, because anytime the women have been in this position, they have knocked it out the park when it comes to War Games. And while I'll always be an advocate for just having one, and you pick it depending on who is doing the best, at the same time, parity and balance is also really important. We'll talk about that on another video. Not for today, so I've got no problem with it. And Rhea Ripley coming back already, I don't care, man. There's this weird, what do you call it? I don't know. There's a bunch of people on the internet that think Rhea Ripley is booked too strongly. I made a video about this. I think you're all crazy. I think you're all nuts. I don't want to see her in the sympathetic babyface position at the moment. I can't even talk. Just want to see her as a badass. I want her to win that championship back. Then I want to have matches, and I want her to destroy people. Then eventually she can meet her match, whoever that could be, at some point in, I don't know, mid-2025. Maybe it's a Julia. Maybe it's a Stephanie Vaquer. Maybe it's whoever. I don't care. Maybe it's Roxanne Perez. I know she's tiny. So what? Make me believe in the narrative. So I am looking forward to that. And the New Day stuff, which actually is probably going to peak before the pay-per-view, because their 10-year anniversary, I believe, is in 2 weeks' time. It's definitely before the 30th, I think, Survivor Series is. You know, Kofi Kingston pushed Xavier Woods yesterday because Pete Dunne beat him after Xavier was like, I know how we can win. Gonna beat the crap out of him, Kofi. And Kofi, being the good guy, wasn't going to let it happen. Now, this is me speculating. When we get to that celebratory ceremony, we're either going to do a festival of friendship, and I assume Xavier Woods would turn on Kofi. I don't think you get away with doing it the other way. Or Big E is going to come back and he's going to reunite them, and then the trio can go on their merry way. I am fine with both of these, because if Big E is back, it's not going to be for a one and done. So he's either cleared or he's going to be an on-screen presence. I'm happy with all of this. I just want Big E to be happy. And if we do actually do the match, probably at WrestleMania, that seems, maybe the Royal Rumble, whatever, I still think Big E is going to come back and be the guy to get them back together. And there's this weird fascination I have with seeing Kofi Kingston versus Xavier Woods in a little bit of a feud, because they always said they would never break up the team. Don't have to break up the team. You can fall out with your brother before your other brother comes back to make everything okay. So I kind of hope we go all the way with it. Again, if it was a little bit of a tease, Big E is going to make me all right with it, but I think both guys are playing their role wonderfully. And using R-Truth as sort of like the erroneous child in the middle, I thought was wonderful. That's kind of was Pete Dunne's role as well. Like, Pete Dunne needed a win. So I actually thought this was really smart booking, even though it was shenanigans. Sometimes WWE has gone too shenanigan heavy. Although, as I mentioned on Ups and Downs as well, make sure you check it out on What Culture Wrestling and subscribe to them too to get my more, I don't know, performative review. This is more like we're sitting in a pub and we're having a chat. But WWE are breaking up way too many teams. Like, obviously, the Bloodline, you could absolutely put that in there. Obviously, the New Day are breaking up. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory always threatening to break up. DIY now threatening to break up. On this episode of Raw, there was a Judgment Day. There's somebody else I can't think about right now. That's just way too much. You need to pick a couple of teams and leave it there. Even Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton are a pairing that are going through some struggles. And you just know it's going to happen with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez eventually. But I like the Judgment Day stuff too. We planted seeds that there is problems there. And while we are doing it too much, they should break up soon. I think come 2025, because the group has served its purpose. I think Dom, Liv, and Raquel can be their own thing. Finn Balor and JD can be their own thing, but they can be in singles things too. Carlito is a little bit of an outlier, but I think you can put him in mid-card feuds and titles, and that would be absolutely fine. So I think we should just pull the trigger on that and make sure it's a big deal, and then we can all look back and salute them. And actually, the MVP of the night I'm going to give to Damian Priest. I may have already said that about Seth Rollins, but I'm just a big liar. What can you do? Because he came out and he verbally eviscerated Gunther. I thought it was fantastic because they are doing their rematch at the Survivor Series. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I do not believe that Damian Priest is going to win. Nothing against him. I just don't think WWE is going to take the belt off Gunther, nor do I think it is the time. But using his loss to Cody and using the fact that maybe he's a little bit weak at the moment, sort of mentally, because he has had a couple of defeats, but also allowing Damian Priest to be the coolest babyface ever, it just makes me like him even more. So if you can come up with a finish where he is protected, for lack of a better word, his 2025 is going to be awesome. And I would somehow get him into a feud with Drew McIntyre, because Drew is going to come off the back of that CM Punk feud feeling like an absolute badass. Damian is in the same ether on the other side of the good guy, bad guy fence. If you allowed them some real leeway to do their thing, I think that could be fantastic. So I like the fact he beat Ludwig Kaiser as well. I don't always want these people to be beaten, but here it does make sense, because what WWE needs to do with this match is make you believe that Damian Priest could win. It's actually a problem that all wrestling has at the moment. We do so many championship matches, you don't think it's going to happen, and you need that jeopardy for a match to really hit those outer regions. So, you know, do the basic stuff, but also make sure you come up with some other stuff as well. And the only thing I didn't like on Raw was the Pure Fusion Collective. I can't say the name without laughing. It's so strange. Taking on Damage Control. I didn't like Dakota Kai coming back from nowhere. I just didn't. I'm not saying I'm not happy that she has returned. It's brilliant. She's over her injury. That's awesome. But I don't think we would have done that for anybody else, maybe. I think we could have had a video or some kind of build. It just felt a bit lackluster. The Pure Fusion Collective told us they were going to take over Raw. They haven't been on the show in weeks, and then they lost. It just felt so rushed, and it was like, oh, we've got the War Games to do. We're going to push that to one side. And look, if I didn't think these people were talented, I wouldn't care. But I think they're brilliant. And when I see WWE telling these awesome stories, I'm like, let them tell a good story, for goodness sake. So, but look, the match was still really, really fun. Io Sky is brilliant right now. And that's the other good thing we've done, because Bianca Belair pinned Liv Morgan. So she can now be like, oh, where's my title shot? Io Sky won the Battle Royal. Rhea Ripley is now back. So you'll see what I mean. When we come out the other side of the pay-per-view premium live event, I actually think there's a lot of good stuff that we can jump into here. So yeah, a good episode of Raw. Like I say, it wasn't all perfect, but it never is. And I'm sure I forgot to talk about something because I am a massive moron. But the Bloodline feels like it's taking over everything. Some people are worried that Cody Rhodes is not going to be on Survivor Series, and that knocks him into the number 2 position. Cody Rhodes is my wrestler of the year at the moment, closely followed by Bryan Danielson. So I'm totally cool with what he's done since he has won at WrestleMania. But the goal of this was to get you excited about Survivor Series, and I am most definitely excited about Survivor Series, and I think the Bloodline War Games match could open the door for stories you can run to 6 to 8 months. And again, Drew needs to come back, CM Punk needs to come back. There's loads of other things that we need to do. I mean, how is Roman Reigns going to react to all this Bloodline stuff going on? He wasn't on Raw at all, and even though we do know what's going to happen in 7 days' time, within the lore of wrestling, SmackDown has to come first. So WWE has to plant some seeds there as well. And I'm just excited for Bronson Reed too, because in 2025, when we go to Netflix, you want to make sure all the power that WWE has right now continues. And John Cena is going to help with that. The Rock is going to help with that. But they won't be on every single show, or John Cena might. So if we did what we did in 2023 and 2024 and continue to have people to rise up, it will dip eventually, because that's how life works. But you put yourself in a much better stead in order to keep it going. So I just think Raw is great in 2 hours. I really do. I prefer it, but don't worry, because come 2025, it's more or less been confirmed that SmackDown and Raw will be 6 hours. So if you're one of the people moaning, you win. And I absolutely I was going to say, I absolutely hate you. I don't hate you. There's always a positive spin. And if we do have 6 hours of WWE in a week, it means there's more opportunity for the talent. And ultimately, I want them to get paid more and I want them all to shine as much as possible. I just love 2-hour shows. And I thought last night's Raw, 120 minutes, wasn't damn near perfect, because the other superstars, keep using that word, I would have liked to have seen on it. But I was sports entertained. And it was nice to see the women's tag team match in the main event as well. Although, yeah, we definitely need to shift Bianca Belair back into the... Well, actually, I would shift Bianca Belair into the singles division as a good guy. And when we do the breakup, I have Jade Cargill as the ultimate bad guy. She just crushes people. That's what she's really good at. It's like 2024 has shown that Nia Jax is the best version of Nia Jax. No one can play Nia Jax better than Nia Jax. While that sounds stupid, it's because Triple H understands what he's doing. And that's what I want from Jade Cargill. I don't want her doing wrist locks or headlocks or hurricane ranas. Everyone now and then is fine. I want her to be an absolute monster and ruin people. Like that new way she gets into the Jaded. I was like, it's a pretty good move, bro. Like, there's horses for different courses, and I don't want everything to be the same. And I hope that WWE and all wrestling companies realize that, and I think they will. Now, of course, more importantly, I want to know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Who is going to be the 5th guy? Because again, all the evidence we've used at the moment, it's not confirmed. Anything can change. It's pro wrestling. So make sure you drop me a comment down there and tell me how wrong I am. That's always nice. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the bell. Please make love to that damn bell. We need to click it, turn it on, especially on mobile apps, as much as possible. Otherwise, it is gorillamind.com/Simon. You can get 10% off, and the Black November sale deals are coming, Black Friday or whatever it is. You can get mega money off, and it does ship worldwide. And again, I use these supplements for my wrestling, for my gym. I absolutely love them. Otherwise, I wouldn't promote them as much as I do. It's also a Go Fitness. Use code Simon20 over there if you want to train at home, scared of gyms. Totally get it. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316. Please give me a follow. The stupid X has deleted all the bots. My number goes down. How else am I meant to have self-worth? Simon Miller on Cameo, Simon J. Miller on TikTok, and simonmiller.com. No other way around, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. And make sure the new shirts are up, including my Proteus People's Champion tee. Wasn't even meant to release that. I've given away my gimmick, but it's too late now. It's out there and nobody can stop me. But I appreciate you, my friends. See you soon.